And welcome to another brand new episode of the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. As always, I am your host, Mel Matt. And if you've noticed, I think I have much better audio than I had last week. Was able to find a new mic that was lying around the house, so I should sound a lot better than I did last week. So, but yeah, tonight we are going to be talking about the final WWE per-view of 2002, the very first year of the brand extinction. And joining me tonight is,
Hi, Mox here.
yep, Mox is back.
Back
And,
in the building, baby.
and Mox, like I said, 2002 is the first year of the brand split, the original brand split. And, this is the last pay per view of 2002, the last W pay per view of 2002. At this point in time, how are you feeling about the brand split? Do you think it's still a good idea, a bad idea, okay idea? How are you feeling about this?
At this point in time, it was still needed some work. There kinks in it, but I thought it was going somewhat decent. It wasn't just an utter. At least here, where I thought there was how do I where they could, like, it needed improvement, but it wasn't just an utter crap show. Like I was, my opinion anyway. Like, they could have tinkered with it and made it better, but it wasn't just an abysmal thing yet. What about you?
Yeah, yeah, I'm pretty much on the same way. It's not the worst thing in the world because honestly, I've never been a fan of the brand split. I just haven't. I don't know. Like, it's one of those things where I feel like it's a good idea for a while, but it kind of gets old after a while. But so far at this point in time, in 2002, late 2002, I think it's going well enough. There's benefits to it, but there's also kind of problems to it. But other than that, I think it's going well enough.
This came out the day after my birthday. This was December 15th, 2002. So
Yeah, taking place in
I,
Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
um, and I forget exactly when the split started, like how many months were into it.
It was around April or May. I believe it was like late April.
Okay, so about half a year, a little more.
It might have been like late March actually. Like, hold on, let me look at it very quickly.
I just couldn't remember offhand. Uh, Good idea on paper, and like I say, yet like it, because it did become an utter. It became bad, but at this point, December 2002, there was still some hope. Excuse me.
Yeah, because the draft was on March 25th, 2002, and it officially went into effect on April 1st. So on
Okay,
April 1st, 2002, the brand extension officially started.
April Fool's Day. So about 8 months where it hadn't gotten old yet, and it was still kind of new. Not to just completely get off topic of this pay per view.
Well,
Um,
there's not much to talk about in this pay per view.
yeah, I was trying subtly to, like, anything to pass the time. Then before we actually delve into this, um, this brand split's been, this current one. Um, it's been okay.
Yeah,
I
about on
would,
par with the original, I'd
yeah,
say.
yeah. It's been basically the same. Like, they could tinker with it a little, or um, You're gonna make us talk about this pay-per-view, aren't you? Damn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we have to. We have to. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
this pay per view, was on December 15th, 2002, I believe, like you said. Yeah, so this pay per view, Armageddon 2002, took place on December 15th, 2002, at the Office Depot Center in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Office Depot.
Yeah. And the theme song, we kind of already touched on the theme song in Mox's favorite album, WWE Anthology. We already talked about that song on that episode, so we
I
won't
picked
dwell
the
into it
worst
too
times
much here.
to guest. I picked the worst things to guest about.
But yeah, so the theme song is the end. It fits really well. And I guess we can go ahead and talk about the intro for the pay per view while we're at it, because we got
Oh,
Classy Freddie
like the
Blassie doing the
highlight of the
narration.
show.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's a bit too early to talk about, but yeah, this was one of the better parts of the pay per view, I'd say. Like with all this stock footage of war and Freddie Blassie narrating over it in the
Yeah,
end, and this was a pretty cool intro. It was what it was.
yeah, I liked it a lot. Of course, classic Freddie Blassie will always get a pop from me, and he came across like a Johnny Cash esque kind of narrating.
Yeah, because
Uh,
this was near the end of his life, unfortunately. Because by
yeah,
the end of it, like by the end for like the late Attitude Era pay per views, Freddie Blassie would do quite a bit of stuff like this. Like he would do like pay per view openings and like vignettes and stuff like that for WWE.
yeah. But I really like the intro. I like the song, the end, and the whole intro was like, okay, this is gonna be cool. I like this. This pay per view is gonna be awesome.
Oh, if only, if only. How'd you feel about the pay per view graphics? That was something.
I miss those.
It was like the
Oh
helicopter and that robot thing.
yeah, like it was kind of cheesy, but it's better than what we're getting now.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
There was something there. We seldom get that anymore. Now we just go from pre-show to Michael Cole welcoming us to wherever they are, and
Yeah, and
I
speaking of things that we don't get anymore, how'd you feel about the set design? A very invasion pay per view, I thought.
oh yeah, that was really I liked the design. I liked in fact one of the like all the fire and like and then the A above the set, like on the top of it, like above the entrance, A for Armageddon. That was really cool. Again, things I miss that we don't get anymore because now we just get the same, unless it's a big four, and even then, it has to be like WrestleMania.
Yeah, like WrestleMania is really the only time where we get
Yeah,
like a unique set design. And I know like it might seem like such a little thing, but it's like the little things like that, it makes all the difference. Like pyro and like the set design, like it really does make a difference, I think.
and looking back, like if you just see a picture, like, oh, that was such and such pay per view, or that was such, or I remember what happened on this pay per view. Anymore, just a set design, a picture of, like, you have no idea. Was it Royal Rumble? Was it Backlash?
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, like I did like Raw and SmackDown on separate sides. I like the fire on the stage, which will come to play later on in the show.
The pyro, man, and it took me a minute to the fire behind where they come out behind Gorilla, or actually it wouldn't be behind Gorilla, but behind like in the stage or on the stage, but people would
Right.
come out in front of it. Like that's real fire. Like it wasn't some graphic or anything. That it was like a um, propane, like just a flame.
Propane and propane accessories.
All right, Hank Hill. But I thought the whole set was pretty well done, and like you say, later it does come into play.
Yeah, so I guess we can go ahead and go on to the first match of the show. It's Booker T and Goldust versus Chris Jericho and Christian versus Lance Storm and William Regal versus the Dudley Boys in the Fatal 4-Way Elimination match for the World Tag Team Championships.
Dang it! And your favorite referee.
Ugh. And you know what? He screws everything up again in this match.
I don't know what it's to the point where you almost think he's doing it on purpose. Like there's no way he can be doing it that long and always foul up.
Yeah, like so Lance Storm and Bubba Ray Dudley start the match, and Regal makes a blind tag to Christian, and Regal is able to eliminate Bubba Ray and the Dudley Boys, and it's like this weird like miscommunication because
Yeah,
Regal like Bubba W like rolls on top of him, and it's like Nick Patrick has to like toss him down so Regal can't pin him. And when he does pin him, like even the commentators are like confused. Like JR and King are saying, "Did you get eliminated?" And Nick Patrick he kind of like makes like the signal that it's almost like he made a 2 count. So even the commentators are not sure what's going on. And to make matters even worse, Goldust eliminates Regal immediately after. So there's just chaos everywhere. And even more so than that, the Dudley Boys, this is their first major match after reuniting. And they're not only are they the first team eliminated, they're eliminated in like 5 minutes.
yeah, it was sloppy. And I wasn't sure. I guess like you, because it was so sloppy. Like, was that supposed to happen, or did is somebody improvising? And I still don't know. But that roll up pin that wasn't really a pin. Like you roll up and then you roll too hard and accidentally you pin yourself.
Yeah.
There was just a lot of, like you say, confusion. Um, I don't know if they were supposed to be the first ones eliminated like that, or
Yeah.
my son got a kick out of the who teamed, especially Goldust being with Booker and Christian being with Chris Jericho. He got a kick out of that. And I completely forgot about Christian wearing what he was
that,
wearing, that
that,
leotard
that,
thing.
yeah, that god awful singlet and tights.
Yeah, I forgot about those days.
Believe me, I'm trying to forget about that era. That was like Christian's worst attire. Like even like the
Oh,
puffy shirt, like even the puffy Seinfeld shirt that he wore when he first debuted. At least then he had some dignity.
yeah, I would take that any day over that atrocity of. But
Yeah, I
this
mean,
match was it. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say that Of course, there's miscommunication in a match where Nick Patrick is the referee. Of course, there is, because why wouldn't there be?
It has to happen. It just has to.
So yeah, the final two teams here are Jericho and Christian and Booker and Goldust. And Jericho attacks Goldust with Regal's flag behind the referee's back. That's how they get the advantage for a bit. And some good back and forth between Jericho and Booker. Jericho shoves Patrick out of the way, which basically makes Jericho face in my eyes. But he walks right. But he walks right into a bookend for the win. Booker T and Goldust finally win the tag titles. After the match, Coach interviews Booker and Goldust, and Booker assures Goldust that he wasn't the weak link, because that was sort of a story going into the match. Goldust kind of doubted himself because he and Booker lost so many times, especially when the tag titles were on the line. So a good payoff for the Goldust and Booker story. However, I do feel that it was kind of late for them to do this.
Yeah, it should have happened a pay-per-view or two sooner.
Like at No Mercy, I think would have been the best time to do it.
Overall, I think it did its job. It's the first match, and when I say its job, like new champion, like the ending at least, and it got the crowd going of new champions, and the Coachman interview at the afterwards with him, telling Goldust, he's not the wink link and stuff, and got the crowd going for the rest of the show, which that should be what the opening match does.
Yeah, like it was a decent match for the most part. The first half of it was really sloppy, but I think when it got down to the Christian, Jericho, and Booker and Goldust, I think that's when it really improved. I really liked the back and forth between Booker and Jericho. I really wish that match had happened at a pay-per-view at this point in time, because I think that match would have been great. But overall, I thought it was a decent enough match. It was okay. It was what it was.
Yeah, I'm looking back. Just a straight up tag team match would have been better between the two.
Yeah, this felt like a match where it was designed to get all the Raw tag teams on the card.
Yeah, and which that's cool, because with the back then, we're actually talking about pay-per-view and buy rates and stuff like that. So I appreciate them getting them on the card, but
it just wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
So the next match on the card, Edge versus someone making his podcast debut, A-Train.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, Matt Bloom has been repackaged once again as A-Train. He was Prince Albert, then he was just Albert, and now he's A-Train. Like, how did you feel about this A-Train character?
I thought I'm keeping it PG. Dude, I don't know what that was about. I mean, I get what they were trying, just not a fan of that at all. I liked him as Albert. I would put it this way: later on, he becomes Tensai. Give me Tensai over A-Train.
Yeah, because I think when he came back as Tensai, I think he was a better worker. They didn't book him well, but I thought he was a better worker by that point in time.
Oh yeah. Didn't he in between go back to Japan for a little bit and then come back? And
yeah, he was in Japan for a long time before he went back to WWE.
This
and
match,
the thing with
go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, the thing with A-Train is, like, I can see why they thought this character would be a good idea, because I feel like the A Train character, it's a lot more marketable than just Albert. I think he had a better look, for better or for worse, than how he was as Albert, but it just didn't quite work. He just wasn't a good wrestler at this point in time. I just don't think it was ever going to work.
And kind of almost DOA, like and they tried, and he tried, and it never clicked really.
Yeah, so A Train takes advantage of an injured Edge, because Edge is going into this match with a storyline injury. Like, I think they say on commentary that Edge has like a torn MCL, which doesn't
Yeah,
require surgery, but and
yeah,
A Train has also storyline injured Rey Mysterio as well, Edge's tag team partner. So there is a bit of a storyline here. So A Train takes advantage of an injured Edge, and gets immediate shave your back chance.
yes. My wife and son, when he came out, and they've seen Matt Bloom, but he was so hairy, and not just hairy but oiled up, that
Yeah.
their immediate reaction was, "Oh."
Yeah, I mean, but Killian Dane, I think, is kind of doing that now.
Yeah,
So there are a good couple of spots in here. Edge goes for A Train's knee. It seems like that's going to be sort of the story of the match, but they never go back to it. Edge is able to hit a downward spiral off the turnbuckle. A Train hits a bicycle kick in midair. So some pretty cool spots here. A Train hits Edge with a chair, gets DQ'd, and Edge fights him off. What do you think of this match,
yeah.
Mox?
The best part of the match was after the match was over, when Edge got revenge, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, this match wasn't. I didn't think this was an awful match. I think there were matches on this card that were worse than this, but this also wasn't anything special. Like, honestly, this was a match that you could have seen on SmackDown or something like that. It
Yeah,
wasn't a pay-per-view match.
I agree. It, it for what it, and I don't want to say could have been, because at that time, Matt Bloom, A Train, he had skill, but was also still, he wasn't where he became later. But they furthered the story. It worked in that regard, but it wasn't like write home about, or tell your friends you got to check this Edge match out.
Yeah. So backstage, Big Show complains to Paul Heyman about Lesnar's suspension being lifted, and Heyman goes to talk to Stephanie.
Even back in 2002, we're dealing with Stephanie.
Yeah.
Like in this kind of, like, she's been around longer, but in this aspect of, well, I'm going to go talk to Steph. I
Yeah.
forgot all about this angle until I watched it again yesterday. Of
Yeah,
where this
I did
leads.
too. And we can talk about that angle when we get to the W title match. But yeah, I did too figure about this angle that they did with Brock and Heyman and Show and everybody involved.
Well, on the backstage with Big Show, quick thoughts on the version of that WWE title.
Honestly, I don't like it. I think the winged eagle that they were using prior was much better, and that title is kind of tainted for me, considering that JBL and Brock Lesnar. Hell with it.
Yeah, it just looks so cheap.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very kind of. I guess it's not very interesting to look at. I don't think.
Yeah, there's it's just there. Sorry, I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of that particular title belt. So the next matchup is Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero.
On paper, should have been 5 stars.
Yeah, so we get some mat wrestling by both guys to start. Eddie works over Benoit's leg, and Eddie dives onto Benoit on the outside, hits a frog splash for the near fall, and one of my favorite spots in the entire match. Eddie just tackles Benoit out of the ring. And Chavo Guerrero even ends up interfering, but he gets fought off by Benoit, and Benoit reverses the lasso from El Paso into Cripper crossface for the win. Honestly, I really like this match. I think this was probably one of the better matches on the card. I think I just really enjoyed this match.
Yeah, when I say 5 stars on paper, I do think it was. It might have. I don't know. It's hard with what comes later, but without all the shenanigans and when I say shenanigans, it's probably my favorite as well. Although did I miss something, or did Benoit start selling the wrong leg at the very beginning, but they kept going for that leg? Because
I'm not sure.
I thought it was when he came off the turnbuckle. I thought it was his towards the beginning of the match. I thought he tweaked his right knee, and then Eddie started focusing on the left knee, and then Benoit started selling the left knee. And once they established it's the left knee, they didn't go back to what knee is it. But at the very first part, I thought he sold his right knee being hurt coming up the turnbuckle. Good match. I mean, they've had better.
Yeah, yeah, they have one later on in 2003. I think was much better than this, but it was still a pretty good match.
I mean, like how I told you when found out that this is what you're reviewing. Like, watch Eddie and Benoit. It'd be hard for them not to have a good match.
Oh yeah. So then we go backstage, and Heyman goes into Stephanie's office and tries to convince Stephanie to reverse Lesnar's suspension being lifted, but is unsuccessful at it.
This was just weird.
How so?
I don't know. I don't know if it's looking at it from current eyes back, or it wasn't, the segment wasn't weird per se, just the interactions, I guess. Like it was a backstage segment. I mean, what are you gonna expect from that? But I don't know. It's just kind of as a look back, just weird to see. Stephanie sitting on her desk in a lavender skirt, and before she became the stuff we know now. I don't. I know word good.
So we move on to this freaking segment. So Don Murray and Al Wilson come out to the ring, and Don Murray shows footage of her and Tori Wilson in the hotel room together.
Oh God.
All I'll say about this segment is that whoever wrote this was clearly watching a lot of Cinemax at night, and I'll just go ahead and leave it at that.
Oh God. That was cringe.
Yeah, it was really bad. I think that's all we can really say about that segment.
I'm staying quiet because that's all. My God, that was. And people complain about the product today. Like, oh, if you would have seen, it could be a lot worse, guys. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, this storyline is just awful. Like maybe one of the worst storylines in this era, because this is just so bad, and it gets even worse than this. I don't know how, but it somehow gets even worse.
Yeah, I'm done with that segment.
Yeah, like this storyline has just been awful, but thank God it'll end at the next pay per view. So at least we won't have to suffer through this storyline any longer. But it does get a lot worse from here on out. So moving on to the next match on the card, Kane versus Batista.
Batista with hair.
Yeah. And Batista's first major pay-per-view match in his career. Like he had appeared at Judgment Day 2002, but that was as Deacon Batista in Stacy Keibler's corner. But other than that, this was his first major match at a pay-per-view, and it's against Kane, who even by this point in time was already in the Jobber to the Stars thing. I mean, there's really not much to say about this match, honestly. It's a back and forth match. Flair constantly tries to attack Kane. Batista goes for the Batista bomb. Kane low blows Batista. And keep in mind, Kane was still a face here.
So was that a botch? Right before, like a minute before the low blow.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. It honestly felt like a botch. I don't know if it was, but it did feel like a botch.
It just looked. It looked like one. It looked like it was a. When I say big botch, like nobody's going to get hurt, but it looked.
Yeah.
Like a botch.
Yeah, it did seem like Batista just wasn't able to lift him up all the way.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, I'm selling my back being hurt and I can't. He literally just couldn't flip him up. And
yeah, it did feel like Batista was really struggling in this match, and that's really one of the major problems with the match.
Well, it's his first major match on pay-per-view, Michael.
Yeah, and Batista hits a Batista bomb to win after another distraction by Flair. So Batista just win this match.
God, Rick annoyed the crap out of me. All I could think during that was a couple years ago, him doing that kind of stuff to Becky Lynch.
Don't remind me of
So,
that.
but that's at least then, A, it wasn't, you know, both genders, and B, it there was a storyline about, with evolution and all that. Like he had a, but it was didn't Flair get kicked out at first and then come back, or is that later? Sorry.
That was the main event.
Oh, sorry. Spoiler alert. My bad. My bad.
So yeah, overall, I thought this match was pretty terrible. I thought it was obvious that Batista wasn't ready for the main roster at this point. He was still very green, so I thought this match was pretty terrible. I think Kane tried his best to make Batista look great, but it just wasn't going to happen. What'd you think of this match?
It was like you. This is still the same year that Batista debuted. He wasn't seasoned enough. He struggled, and you can say what you want about Kane 2018, 2017, but Kane could pull some good matches out of people, and it didn't happen here. Everything just felt off, and you could tell why they made this match. Kane being the veteran and Batista being the new guy, and it was just so underwhelming. And then you, like I say, with the Ric Flair annex on the outside. Did like the pyro entrance because the flame we were talking about in the intro. Not only did the ring post become a flame, but so did the propane. And behind him, like everything lit up.
Yeah, that was the best part of the match,
Yeah,
definitely.
that was pretty neat.
So we get an appearance. John Cena and Bull Buchanan come out and rap.
Oh, gee. Oh,
Yeah,
no. Double B. Isn't that what they call them? Double B?
B squared,
B
bling
squared.
bling.
Yeah. B squared. Bling, bling.
Yeah, yeah. We do need to talk about this John Cena change in character for a little bit because you were on the first episode of the podcast, Vengeance. You saw a very green, very generic version of John Cena. He's changed a lot since Vengeance. He's now a rapper. What did you think of this gimmick change for John Cena?
Oh, WTF. Huh? Why is he wearing a Pirates jersey, Pirates hat? None of it made sense. Um, his rap didn't make sense. B squared, like it was just so awkward.
Yeah, this isn't one of his better moments as this Thugonomics character.
Yeah, this felt so flat.
Yeah, it did seem like he was still trying to find that character. It's obvious that he's more comfortable doing it, but at the same time, it's obvious that he's still trying to develop that character and trying to find himself as that Thugonomics character.
Yeah, uh, trying different things, but oh goodness, that was, and not seeing all this pay-per-view when it came out and never seeing that segment before. Yet Like, what in the heck? Like, what
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this?
yeah. I forgot about that segment. Honestly, like I forgot that this segment took place on this pay per view.
It was. I kind of laughed, but at the same time, like, well, it could be worse. We could, get another Don Marie, Tori Wilson segment.
True, true. I did like
And,
his. I did like his
but
lyric about the Brady Bunch, though. Like it's like you try throwing blows, you'll end up like Marsha Brady saying, "Oh my nose."
that I'll give him that. That was a good line. That was a really good line. And when he when he said it and holding his hand up to his nose, because how I chuckled because he doesn't have a small nose, and then of course when you talk about noses, you have to talk about Triple H.
Yeah.
But finding his footing, we talked about Batista earlier. I mean, this was their first year on the main roster for these guys.
Yeah, so a weak segment.
Yeah, the crowd was dead silent, dead silent. What just happened? What was that?
Yeah. Then again, they did just have to sit through Batista Kane.
True. So everybody was probably in the bathroom or something.
All right, so now moving on to the next match: Victoria versus Trish Stratus versus Jacqueline for the women's title. Jacqueline making an appearance here. And yeah, Jacqueline's role by this point it was kind of weird because she was rarely on WTV, and when she was, it was almost always as a just as really just as another woman in a multiple woman match. Like if it was a triple threat or a fatal 4-way match at a pay per view, she was usually one of the opponents there.
Yeah, she a warm body. Like,
Pretty much. I mean, there's really not much to say about this match. It's a fast-paced match which I really enjoyed. Victoria ends up clocking Trish to win with the title itself and pins Jacqueline to win the match. Overall, it's a decent enough match. But there just wasn't much to it.
yeah, exactly. There were very little substance. Um,
And all three were trying. They were
oh
really
yeah,
trying in this match.
oh yeah, and this was during the like this was actually a wrestling match. There were no
Yeah.
shenanigans. There were no bra and panties. Like they were.
There was no Don Marie showing footage of Tori
I was
Wilson.
not gonna bring that back up. But yeah, it was an actual wrestling match. Trish has looked a lot better. All three of them have looked a lot better than they looked in this match.
Yeah, yeah, I think so as well. And I just feel like maybe if they were given more time and just more of a storyline to it, these three probably could have had a good match because all three can
Yeah.
work.
Oh yeah, and I like Victoria. I know some people don't, and like Divas era this. Uh, Victoria, I loved her character, the bad A, if you will, like just the not there to be pretty, just there to kick some butt.
So a decent match overall, but wasn't much to it. Backstage, Kurt Angle shows Brock Lesnar the Survivor Series VHS to convince him to be in his corner against Big Show and Paul Heyman. That's how you can tell it's a pay-per-view from 2002 because there's VHS.
I was gonna. That's yeah.
And even then, they still watch sideways on the TV.
That's something else I had in my bank in my memory bank of A, they're watching it on VHS, and B, they're still sideways.
Yeah. So coming up next, Big Show versus Kurt Angle for the WWE title. And this is such a weird matchup because both guys are still heels. And it feels like Brock Lesnar is more so the main guy in the storyline than either Angle or Big Show.
Yeah, it's a weird setup.
So Angle does try to go for Show's angle, but Show overpowers Angle, and Angle ends up dumping Big Show onto Heyman on the outside, and then Show goes back in, and Angle sneaks back in and tosses Show over the top rope against the Royal Rumble. Still a month away, Kurt.
It was a very oddly aged in match.
Yeah, this match is freaking boring. This was such a boring match. And we do end up getting their rep up, and as soon as that happens, everybody looks to the ramp because they are expecting Brock Lesnar. Except for one guy who was clearly expecting Hulk Hogan. Because he was posing like Hogan and doing all of that stuff. But yeah, I think that's what hampers this match the most because this match was built so much on Brock Lesnar being involved in this match one way or the other that nobody cared about this match. All they cared about was, Brock Lesnar getting involved.
Yeah, that was the entire crowd. If you watch this match, only a few times are they actually watching the match. They're either looking up the ramp or somebody coming down, and then I don't know what happened, but they're also, and for a long period of time, are looking the other way.
Yeah.
Where I question, what's going on? And my wife
A
said,
Train
maybe there's
also.
a beat.
Yeah, A Train also got involved in this match, interfered, which I completely forgot about until just now.
Which also made why? Is that just
Well, I think at the time he was associated with Paul Heyman, so I think that might be why.
yeah?
But it was still very weird. But yeah, sorry for interrupting you. What were you going to say?
There's another, for a lot of the match, the crowd was looking the other way from the ramp, and I was like, "What are they looking at?" And my wife, I, somebody have a beach ball or something, how they do today, and they just from they spent a small percentage actually watching the match, and that was your WWE Heavyweight Championship match, and they spent little time.
I mean, Yeah, I mean, you can't really blame him for not watching the match because the match was just terrible. It was
Yeah.
very boring. So Brock does finally end up running in F5's Big Show, chases Heyman out of there, Angle pins Big Show to win the title. Like I said many times, boring match. There wasn't much to it. Yeah,
Even the pin was boring. Like even the how long it took Angle to get to show, and instead of just like draping an arm or barely, like not only does he finally make it there, he still hooks a leg or tries to. It would have been better for Brock to F5 him and Big Show be out and Kurt crawl and drape an arm or just try to drape himself over. I think it was just, and Big Show trying to sell death from a 1F5 at that time when he was so monstrative like that. That was, it was just a weird visual.
yeah. So we go on to RVD at the World, and he says that HBK will win. Now, I believe this is the final pay per view to have the World shown. I could be wrong on that. I do know that it's one of the last times. I don't remember seeing it at the Royal Rumble. I could be wrong on there, but I think this pay per view is the last pay per view that we do see the World.
I missed the cutouts to wrestlers being at the WWF or WWE
Yeah,
World
same here.
Center. Yeah, that was pretty cool when it happened.
So we
I
move
would
on to the main. Go on.
no, I wouldn't have RVD do it every time, but
But yeah, we do move on to the main event of the show. Shawn Michaels versus Triple H in 3 Stages of Hell match for the World Heavyweight Championship. And going into this pay per view, this was the match I was most excited to watch.
up until yesterday, this was the only match from this pay per view that I had watched.
Yeah, so there's not much to the story here. I did like how the tables were kind of turned at one point in time because HBK comes back at Survivor Series and beats Triple H in an Elimination Chamber match for the world title. The next night, he says, Triple H, how does it feel watching from a hospital as you see HBK as the world champion? I did like that.
And just a quick side note, that was the very first Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Yeah, me and the Don South talked about that entire pay per view, Survivor Series 2, a couple episodes prior. So feel free to go back and listen to that episode. That episode's great. Just a little plug for another episode.
Well, they made sure to remind us on commentary of the little vignette before. Because anyway, sorry, I just want to throw my little tidbit in there.
Yeah. So this is a 3 Stages of Hell match. The first fall will be a street fight match. The second fall will be a steel cage match. And if necessary, the third fall will be a ladder match. It does seem like we don't get too many 3 Stages of Hell matches anymore in WWE. Like, I'm trying to remember when the last one was.
I'm sorry. What kind of match?
A three stages of hell match.
Oh, that's been a long time.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember like the last time they did that because it does seem like WWE doesn't do those kind of matches much anymore.
It'd be cool if they did.
Yeah, like what I mean by that is not necessarily a regular 2 out of 3 fall matches. What I mean by that is like 3 stages of hell match, like different match types for each fall, like this one.
Yeah. Right now, the perfect opportunity would have been Gargano, Ciampa, and NXT.
Oh yeah,
That would have that deserved a 3 stages of hell match. But
yeah.
anyway,
So Flair immediately gets ejected from ringside before the match starts. Like Earl Hebner even shoves him down.
which makes, and this is what I alluded to earlier. I couldn't remember just off the top of my head which time Flair was ejected. It's a
Yeah,
street fight.
yeah.
Why are we? It's a street fight, Earl.
I mean, it is, but at the same time, Ric Flair has interfered in so many Triple H matches. You might as well just go ahead, try and make it as fair as maybe as fair as a street fight can possibly be. I just have it like 1-on-1,
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, like to
Yeah,
that was a bad timing.
true. And also that Earl Hebner has never been a Triple H guy. So it does kind of make sense from the kind of not necessarily screw him, but kind of like
Even
kind
the
of take
odds as
away his
much as I can.
ace.
Yeah, try to even the odds as much as I can.
So we get some good back and forth in this match, and Shawn ends up side slamming Triple H onto a chair, which is a really cool little callback to SummerSlam.
Yeah, the chair kind of no sold for him,
Yeah, a little bit.
but
So Triple H works over Shawn's leg, which I really like. I really like the psychology of that. So Triple H locks on the figure four and Shawn and clocks him with a trash can lid. They end up fighting up the ramp, and Triple H pulls out a barbed wire 2x4 from backstage. And not only does he pull it out, but he sets it on fire, which is another cool little callback to his Hell in a Cell match against Cactus Jack at No Way Out 2000. And Shawn ends up fighting back and hits Triple H with that barbed wire 2x4 that is lit on fire. I really like that spot.
yeah, um, I did too, and so did they. That was a really good succession of how everything worked because you just knew like Triple H would um, a helm that I can't get over how awesome that line of fire on the
Yeah,
ramp,
it's so cool.
and then to actually use it in a match. I really like that, and of course my son went bananas for it because he doesn't see stuff like that anymore.
You're not showing them any CZW, are you?
Yeah, sometimes when I say stuff like that, I mean from WWE.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean, but
Yeah, I limit or at least do my best parental guidance on CZW stuff he gets to watch. He understands um,
right.
how things work. I had a question.
Sure.
Do you think, obviously, it wasn't a legit bust up? Was that? The, sorry, those are my dogs. I apologize. I'm so sorry. Um, did H Blade there?
I believe so.
Yeah, it was how he when he got hit with it and then fell on his stomach, and then the camera stayed on Sean. Um, and this was before the no blading, no blading. I believe he bladed there. It didn't come from the actual shot. It might have been
In kayfabe, I believe it was supposed to be from the shot.
yeah in kayfabe, yes, no, obviously. But because I forget when they went all no blading rule. But
I think
I
it was
think
when the PG. I think it was when they first went to PG.
okay. And
So
sorry,
Triple H going.
it was just kind of obvious. When I say obvious, like I'm still questioning, but it wasn't from the shot whether he had already did it and just where they would put a little um, super glue or glue, and where if you get hit, it will open back up. Or if he did it right then, I think he did it right then.
Yeah, I think so too. So Triple H dropped toe holds Sean onto a chair and chop blocks and pedigree Sean to win the first fall. So now it's time for the second fall. I guess we can go ahead and do it like this. What do you think of the first fall of the match?
Out of the three, I thought it was the best. Or
Yeah, I think so too.
damn, sorry. If the third one's necessary, I thought this was the best out of whatever happened later. Like, sorry. Um, I I like this. I wish it would have gone on a little longer. Like maybe if I like the whole thing together, but if this would have just been in the same time frame as a street fight, this was my favorite stage.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that as well. So now we move on to the second fall, a steel cage match, and Triple H tosses as many weapons as he possibly can in the ring before the cage lowers and launches Sean into the cage.
I mean, he puts everything in there: the table, trash can lids, chairs.
Yeah, it really does feel like a war in that respect because there are like the ring is littered with so many weapons. It does feel like a real like hardcore match,
Yeah,
and it kind of makes it a bit more dangerous as opposed to just kind of a regular cage match. So Sean and Triple H fight on top of the cage, and for some reason, Ric Flair returns to the ring. I did not understand the logic in that at all.
I don't think there was much.
Like I don't know how he was able to come back after being ejected from ringside. Like I don't know, it doesn't make that much sense.
The Going back to him getting sent back immediately when the first stage started. If if nothing else, what would have made it a little better would be if H, like, I got this. You can go ahead and go back, and then have Rick come back out later. Like that would have made a little bit more maybe sense.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole thing was just kind of weird. But Sean does end up kind of beating Flair up and all that. And he beats down both Flair and Triple H. And Sean ends up diving off the cage into Triple H, who's onto a table, and pins him to win the second fall. What'd you think of the second fall?
It was okay for what it was, and by now, taking into consideration, like these guys have already been through a long, brutal match and are tired. It it was okay. There was a few spots that were very off to me. When the opening of the door by Rick, for one, he couldn't figure out how to open the door, and then H in the corner right by the open door and doesn't try to. I have to preface all that with saying I hate the steel cage rule of you can just open the door and walk out. I can't stand that.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Kind of takes a while.
But
I can see why they have it because it can create a little bit of suspense when done right. But I think for the most part, it's just kind of I don't know. It does kind of take out some of the bit of suspense when you can just walk out of the cage.
like, why even have the match? Like before the match starts, and you're the guy in the corner closest to the door, and they've done that before, where when the bell rings, he'll try to open the door and get out and can't get out. But it makes no sense. Of okay, I've got this guy down. I can literally just walk to a win, and they don't do it. Like, sorry, that's one of my. I hate that rule. But the
Yeah,
this match, uh, it was brutal, and this is where Sean got busted up too, and then Sean did cheese grater on H, and by now they're after this stage they're both a bloody mess. It was okay. Standalone, not so great, but seeing what they just went through in the street fight and it being three stages of hell. Okay, that this it's working so far.
yeah. So we move on to the third and final fall, the ladder match. Sean suplexes Triple H onto a ladder and misses a dive off the ladder, but super kicks Triple H out of the ring. And it does seem like Sean is going to go for the title, but gets tossed onto four tables set up at ringside, goes right through him. Triple H grabs the title to win the match. What did you think of this fall as well as the match overall?
This fall, because H had set up the two tables in the first fall, and then Flair set up the other two to make a double stack. And I was waiting for, I say waiting, I was wondering when, since the first two got set up, like when you know they're coming into play when they do that kind of stuff. You know somebody's going through those. Um, this fall, by now, it was it was okay. They were obviously exhausted. Um, I wouldn't have chosen a ladder match as the last one in the series and the three stages. It felt so like they went from like an order of really to good to okay, if that makes sense. Like after you've been
Yeah.
through hell and back, the last thing you want is a ladder match. Like the sequence just felt off. The third stage it pretty quick and I guess served its purpose.
Yeah, overall, I thought the match was pretty great. I really enjoyed the match. I think it was a slight step below their non-sanctioned match at SummerSlam, but overall, I really enjoyed this match. I thought this match was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, as a the entire match as a whole, all three stages. Yeah, this was it was really good storytelling. Really, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was time well spent, unlike other things in this pay per view.
So, overall, what'd you think of this pay per view? Before we go there, I just wanted to ask you one question about that match. Because Shawn Michaels, did not stay long as a champion. He was only champion for about a month or so. Do you think that giving the title right back to Triple H was the right thing, or do you think that there was a bit more mileage in Shawn as champion?
Oh, Sean could have carried it longer.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
That you know, hindsight being 2020 and knowing that the reign of terror is up, um, that's one thing. But even then, Sean could have. He didn't need to drop it there. It would have been there. There was a some, if not a lot more mileage left on him holding the belt.
Yeah, I think Shawn could have and probably should have carried it a bit longer, but I've also think that Shawn didn't really want to be champion at this point in his career. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the rumor that I've always heard.
yeah, and I've heard the same too. And he didn't want the uh, not focal point, but he knew that other people like it was their time, and he was trying to get it to their time. But he could have retained here, at least through like maybe Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, like a maybe even to SummerSlam the following year, and would have been just fine. I don't think he didn't want the burden, for lack of a better term. And I'm not. Remember, I know word good.
So, I mean, overall, what'd you think about this pay per view?
Um, this if I'm not into like letter grades or, but if I was to give it a letter grade, C minus. Like just because the good was pretty good, but it was so bad. I can't decide like D to C minus. It
Yeah, I would give it a D. This wasn't a good show at all. It's not the worst pay per view that we've covered so far, that I've covered so far. It's one of the worst. I still say that Vengeance is the worst show so far. I mean, at least this pay per view
oh man,
had, at least this pay per view had Eddie and Benoit and the Three Stages of Hell match. So
it,
at
it
least,
has some redemption quality to it.
oh yeah.
Vengeance, dude. Why do you make me watch this stuff sometimes? It seems like every time I guest on your podcast, it is the worst. Everybody else is like, nope, 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 nope. I'm a sucker for punishment. I'll watch it and talk about it.
I mean, surely that's going to be a good peer review that you'll be able to guest on.
Oh man, it like you say the Eddie Chris match and the Three Stages of Hell were the 7 points, and even those two could have been a little better, like a little, not to nitpick everything, but a little something more. But it wasn't good. Like it wasn't good at all. So make sure you spend that $9.99 and guys go watch it.
Yeah, so yeah, this was not a good peer review at all. This was pretty bad. It had its moments like Eddie and Benoit and the Three Stages of Hell match, but other than those two matches, yeah, this is a pretty skippable pay per view. So I
Uh,
think that's it for this episode. Go on.
I was going to say I won't be rewatching it.
I mean, I would probably go back to Eddie Benoit and the Three Stages of Hell match, but other than those two
Yeah,
matches,
yeah.
I probably won't be going back to this pay per view anytime soon.
I'm not starting it from the beginning and watching it all the way through again. Nope.
So it looks like that's going to be the end of this episode. Mox, where can they find you, and do you have any plugs?
You can find me at Fireman6809 on Twitter. I'm cohort in crime on Violent Wrestling Podcast with at Ambrose Alley. Also, she's at Letty Rashana on Twitter. And you can find us, Violent Wrestling Podcast, on YouTube.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at MetalMat15, and I'm also on Cage Side Seas as well. I hang out in the daily and the nightly, also in the NXT threads and the SmackDown threads. And you can find Violent Wrestling Podcast, whenever they do a show. It's very
We're
spontaneous.
we're very random.
And you can also catch Shooting the Breeze with Mr. Dr. Sinju and Tigger's Minion every Saturday morning at 11 Eastern, 10 Central. So Two Guys, One Sport recently made a comeback. That's every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, I want to say. Yeah, it's either like 8 p.m. Eastern or 9 p.m. Eastern. I'm not 100% sure what time, but Two Guys, One Sport with Crazy Chris and Curtin Jerker, or George and Chris. They recently made a comeback after a brief hiatus, so definitely check them out. They do a good show as well. Trying to think of connoisseurs of wrestling with Biff Kensington, Taker's Minion, and Legends Lover every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Trying to think if there's anything else that we need to plug. There's Fighting Wrestling Podcast, You Guys Want Sport, Shooting the Breeze, Connoisseurs of Wrestling. I think that might be all the plugs. I'm sorry if I left your podcast out. But I think that's all the podcasts I can think of off the top of my head. Next Friday, there will be another brand new episode of the Ruthless Aggression Era podcast. And next week, it's going to be a bonus episode. It's going to be on the Raw 10th Anniversary Special.
Nice.
Yeah, and that award show was not exactly well regarded. So it will be interesting to go back and watch that award show.
Oh God, you're gonna ask me to guest again. I get all the crap. I get all the crap stuff to review.
I don't know. I might give you a break, just for temporary. But I don't know. Maybe. But yeah, I'm not sure who's going to be the guest next week, but that will be the episode that I will be covering with a guest, Raw 10th Anniversary Special. So definitely check that out next Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So I believe that's it for this episode. Anything else to add, Mox, before you leave?
Thanks for having me. Talk to you guys later.
Yeah, thanks for being on, Mox. I really appreciate you watching this this pay-per-view.
You owe me one.
So yeah, thank you. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the podcast. New episode next Friday. Raw 10th Anniversary Special should be interesting. So that's all for this episode. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next time. See ya.